I wanted to take the time to educate everyone here on what exactly Dia de Muertos is, and talk about the way that I personally spend the holiday. I wanted to start this video by letting everyone know that this lesson is on how Dia de Muertos is celebrated specifically in Mexico, in a broad sense. Everyone celebrates in their own way, and some people don't celebrate at all. I encourage you to look into this holiday on your own time to learn all the other places and ways that this holiday is celebrated. What is Dia de Muertos? As defined by Day of the Dead holiday, Dia de Muertos is a 2-day holiday that reunites the living and the dead. Families create ofrendas to honor their departed family members that have passed. These altars are decorated with bright yellow marigold flowers, photos of the departed, and the favorite foods and drinks of the ones being honored. The offerings are believed to encourage visits from the land of the dead as the departed souls hear their prayers, smell their food, and join in on the celebration." End quote. Dia de Muertos is a tradition that dates back thousands of years and was created by indigenous peoples such as the Aztecs and Toltecs. In most of Latin America, there are festivals and parades celebrating this holiday. Day of the Dead is unique in that it is a holiday for celebrating life and death at the same time, and should not be mistaken or referred to as Mexican Halloween. This holiday spans over 2 days of celebration, beginning at midnight on the 1st of November. Many of you may be familiar with Dia de Muertos from the movie Coco. The movie follows a 12-year-old boy named Miguel, who was accidentally transported to the land of the dead, where he seeks the help of his deceased musician great-great-grandfather to return him to his family among the living, and to reverse his family's ban on music. Coco was the first film with a 9-figure budget to create an all-Latinx principal cast. What is an ofrenda? An ofrenda, meaning offering in Spanish, is an altar with a collection of objects placed on display during the annual Dia de Muertos celebration. The purpose of the altar and the offering is to welcome spirits back into the world of the living. Favorite culinary dishes, treasured items, and photographs of the deceased are placed on the altar for the souls to enjoy when they return. Many altars will have at least 2 levels. These levels represent the division of earth and the sky, as well as a combination of the elements air, rain, wind, and sunshine. Dia de los Angelitos, Day of the Little Angels, starts the holiday at midnight on November 1st, where the spirits of all deceased children are believed to be reunited with their families for 24 hours. Families dress their ofrendas with the departed children's favorite snacks, candies, toys, and photographs to encourage a visit from their departed children. The names of the departed children are often written on sugar skulls and placed on the altar. Dia de los Difuntos. At midnight the following day, November 2nd, the celebration shifts to honor the lives of the departed adults. The night is filled with laughter and fun memories, like the night before. However, the ofrendas take on a more adult-like theme. Families will also play games together, reminisce about their loved ones, and dance while the village bands play in their town. Dia de Muertos, Spirits of all dead. The next is the grand finale and the public celebration of Dia de Muertos. People come in their cities dressed up with calavera painted faces and have parades in the street. Cemetery visits are also common on the last day, as families will go decorate the graves with marigold flowers, gifts, and sugar skulls with the departed names on them. It is customary to clean the gravestone and restore the color. Photographs. This one is believed to be the most important of all. Having the photo of your loved one on your ofrenda is a way for you to remember them, as well as a way to guide them back from the spirit world. Choosing who you have on your ofrenda is up to you. It can be family members, friends, pets, or maybe even people you don't even know. It is a way to celebrate all who have been lost. Light. Candles are used to illuminate the past of the souls returning home, and they represent fire. Copal is known as American frankincense. It is the incense made of resin that comes from copal trees. Copal incense was burned in Mesoamerica in ancient times, and is still burned for special, memorable ceremonies, and is often placed on or near Day of the Dead altars. Food and water. There are endless different types of food and beverages found on ofrendas. Altars often include beverages, dishes, and casseroles that the dead enjoyed on Earth. This element helps the dead remember their time on Earth and helps those still on Earth remember their lost ones. Common food and beverage items are liquor, chocolate, freshly harvested fruit, and tamales. The 2 most common food items are pan de muerto and sugar skulls. Pan de muerto, also known as Day of the Dead bread, is a round loaf of orange-flavored bread in the form of skull and bones, and then sprinkled with white sugar. Sugar skulls are often found on ofrendas, and they symbolize the god of death. Sugar skulls typically have the name of the deceased on their forehead. The most common beverage found on ofrenda is water. Water is representative of purity and is believed that water will quench the thirst of the spirits to rehydrate them after and before their long journey back to earth. Marigolds, also known as flor de muerto. It is the main floral adornment for gravesites and altars. Its strong scent and bright colors, said to represent the Aztec sun god, are believed to guide spirits of the deceased as they come to visit their family on Day of the Dead. These flowers may be recognizable from the Marigold Bridge in Cocoa. Personal belongings and favorites. Personal belongings, as well as favorite foods, are used to bring back memories for the living and the dead. It's said that having these belongings on the ofrenda help guide the spirits back to the world of the living. Cultural appropriation. Now that you know a little bit more about Dia de Muertos, I want to talk about cultural appropriation of this holiday. As defined by the Cambridge Dictionary, cultural appropriation is defined as the act of taking or using things from a culture that is not your own, especially without showing that you understand or respect this culture. We have all seen it, and by it, I mean the countless costumes that appropriate culture sold online and in stores this time of year. From powwow princess to tequila amigo, the ignorance is deafening. Nobody's culture should be a costume. Being self-aware of your own actions and sparking discussion with others is the biggest key to combating cultural appropriation. If you are dressing up for Halloween, ask yourself, is my costume based on someone else's race, ethnicity, or culture? Does this costume use stereotypes to make a joke? Be an advocate. If you see a costume that doesn't sit right with you, start a conversation with that person. Missoula is no stranger to claims of cultural appropriation. As many of you may know, Missoula has had a long-running Festival of the Dead, which is now known as Festival of Remembrance as of 2018. This festival has been going on since 1993 and takes place on November 2nd, with a month-long of projects and classes leading up to the parade. There's been plenty of talk about whether or not it's offensive for a majority white community to throw a Dia de Muertos parade and put on classes. In my personal opinion, the Festival of Remembrance is more of an excuse to dress up in a costume and throw a party than it is to actually educate yourself on the holiday. When you take bits and pieces from a culture without fully educating yourself on it, it takes away from the culture as a whole and appears to be more for show than for the actual intended meaning. I have never and will never participate in the Festival of Remembrance until there are Latinx community members leading these conversations and classes on our own culture, and that there is more education on the holiday itself. Although it has been said that the Festival of Remembrance has no relation to Dia de Muertos, it is clear to see that that is not the truth. Organizers of this festival have made changes such as changing the name and no longer doing face painting, but for me, that's not enough. This is not a Missoula tradition. This is a cultural holiday. Educate yourself. Look for events put on by Latinx people. Buy Latinx art. Donate to Latinx causes. And find different ways to celebrate your loved ones. In a post by Tracy Lopez, Lopez says as follows, quote, oftentimes it is done unintentionally or without intended malice, but even when done with appreciation or admiration, it can be exploitive, offensive, and feel oppressive towards the minority culture who feel something is being stolen from them. Are you painting your face as a sugar skull because it'll look super cool and get you plenty of likes on Instagram? Then strongly reconsider your actions, she wrote. These traditions are not just for fun or to bring yourself attention on social media. They are sacred. Respect that. If you're the Donald Trump type who would eat a taco and declare you love Mexicans while supporting the deportation of the people who made it for you, don't even think about it, Lopez advised. It should go without saying, cherry-picking a culture while not respecting the people it originated from is completely unacceptable. So that was just kind of a rough view of me setting up my ofrenda. I'm definitely going to iron out some of the fabric and just make it look a little more spiffy, but I just wanted to show you some of the general elements that I incorporate. I just want to take the time to walk everyone through some of the specific elements to my ofrenda that just make it personal to me. My grandmother sadly passed away before I was born, and my grandfather passed away when I was a little bit over 1 year old. So I really didn't get the chance to know him like I wish I could have. So this is just a way that I feel connected to them. It's originally the reason that I started my ofrenda was I was really missing that connection with them, and I really wanted to be able to feel their presence, think about them, hear stories about them, and just really get to know more about them as people. Some of the personal belongings I have on here is a hand-embroidered dish rag from my grandmother. And then also I do have my grandpa's shot glass. It's a little barrel shot glass. He loved Christian Brothers brandy, so that's what it's stained with currently. I'm definitely going to wash it out, and I'm going to get more for this year. I chose to incorporate the red thread and needle because it's a tradition that's been passed down in a lot of Mexican families, but in my family as well, of piercing your daughter's ears when she's a couple days old with a sewing needle and red thread. And it's something that I plan to do as well when I have children. Here are some fake marigold flowers that I have. I try to get fresh ones as well. It is kind of hard this time of year in Montana to get fresh ones, and the ones that I did have did die. And then I chose to incorporate this big Mexican flag behind the photo. And then I also have a little fun Mexican flag necklace. My grandmother did like to wear flashy jewelry and earrings, so I thought that was kind of fun and it reminded me of her. And then, of course, I have all of the candles and prayer candles. My grandparents were Catholic, and religion meant a lot to them. So I really wanted to have a lot of prayer candles. It just gives such a warmth and a happiness to this ofrenda that I really enjoy. Because at the end of the day, it's not about sadness, it's about celebrating life. In most calavera, you'll see them with smiles on their faces, and this is definitely just symbolic that death shouldn't be viewed as just a sad time. We can celebrate those we love and celebrate the time that they were lucky enough to have on Earth. Something else I do each year is I look through some of the different records of my grandparents, just some of their favorite artists, and I like to take out my record player and just sit there and listen and sit with my ofrenda and talk with my grandparents and think about them and talk to my father and his sisters about who they were and hear some stories about them, which is just so nice. And here's a little video of what my ofrenda looked like last year. It definitely is a lot more full because at that point last year I was putting out all of the offerings, the food, the beverage. I had made pan de muerto, so it did have a lot more elements. And it'll have all those elements again when it is time to put them out this year. Thank you for attending this Zoom. I hope I taught you valuable information that you can share with others, and I hope you learned something new. I wanted to take this time to ask each and every one of you to get out there and vote by November 3rd. Vote as if your rights were on the line, because for millions of people like myself, they are. Use your voice and show up for your community. Wear your mask, wash your hands, and have a safe and happy Halloween weekend. All right, that was everything.
Thank you. I have not seen any questions come through in the chat yet, so I actually have one for you to start things off. Could you maybe just quickly explain what what the term Latinx means for those folks who may not be familiar with that term?
Yeah, so Latinx is more of a gender neutral term rather than Latina or Latino. And it's involving not just, Mexican, which is typically what it was used towards before, like Latino and Latina being associated with Mexican, but it's anyone of Latin American heritage, in Latin American, you know what I'm trying to say? Stumbling on my words. But yes, it's more of a broad gender neutral term.
Folks can feel free to, if you want to unmute yourself, feel free to ask a question or send Devin a message in the chat. I was very impressed with your video, Avianna. I'll tell you that right now.
I thought it'd be a little easier to do a video than trying to do it all live because I am a little bit nervous. So I thought it was a little easier to compose myself if I did it in a video.
And you said you're a media arts student, right? So that checks out. Which leads to, we did just get a question from Megan, who would like to know if you drew the last photo because it was beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so that was kind of my art piece that I had put that I was going to do. I was gonna leave it up for a little bit longer, but it kind of just felt a little awkward. But yeah, that is it's a drawing of my grandparents on my ofrenda. So yes, thank you very much.
I've got another question. What happens to all of the foodstuffs afterwards? Like, do you get rid of it? Do you eat it yourself? Like, where does that all go after the celebration has happened?
That's a good question. Me personally, I'm not sure exactly what other people do. I do throw it out just because I feel like that was meant not for me. It was meant for, who I was leaving it out for. So I do personally throw it away. A lot of times it is more like breads, like pan de muerto, which have been left out, for the 2 days. So I do happen to toss mine.
Alyssa has a question. If there is a way for people to access the video in the future, outside of the Zoom call.
Yes, I do believe it, right, Haley? It'll be recorded and posted.
Yeah. Yes, so I'm gonna actually hire Avianna to help me edit all of the Zoom videos, but we recorded almost all of the DiverseU sessions this year, which is really exciting, and so we'll be posting them. If you want to check out, follow the University Center and or DiverseU on Facebook, and we'll be posting about them there. I think we're going to create like a YouTube channel or something fancy like that. So keep an eye. You'll be able to see Avianna's session and any other session that maybe you missed that you really wanted to see as well.
Great. We've got a question from Emily, who is asking, do you change the ofrenda from year to year in terms of both people you are honoring and which items you include?
Yeah, definitely. So for the first year I did it, it was just my grandparents. This year I did include, I don't know if you saw it in the video, my dog recently passed away, so I did include my dog on my ofrenda. And it is just a personal choice. I have lost other people in the meantime, that I haven't chosen to include on my ofrenda, but that is just, more so I am still in the grieving process. I'm not ready to really celebrate my, the life that they did share. I'm still really holding on to the pain, and I don't want that to be a part of my ofrenda. I want it to be just happiness and celebration. So with my grandparents that were in the video, I have more of a, way to celebrate them because I have really never known them. But I have lost my grandmother on my mom's side recently, but that's just not, I'm just not necessarily ready to incorporate her into my ofrenda yet. But it's, totally up to anyone. You can really, like I said in the video, you can add anyone you'd like. You can change it however you want. I mean, even in the video, the time-lapse video, I'm moving things around. Like, it's so just unique. You can put anything anywhere just because, a lot of people choose to do this many layers or this and that. It's really just completely up to interpretation and whatever, it's your own sacred space. So whatever makes you feel happy.
Great. We've got a question from Christina asking, have you found any Missoula bakeries, stores, restaurants that have Mexican baked goods to purchase?
You know, I personally have not. My parents, when they do go through Bozeman, they do, they send pan de muerto, not pan de muerto, but pan dulce to me through Bozeman. I think it's El Mercadillo. They do have a great Mexican bakery section there, but otherwise, I personally don't know anywhere in Missoula. I think there might be individuals who do sell, but as far as like a bakery, I can't say I've stumbled across one.
I'm so sorry. Hi. I am
Hello.
Hi. Actually, there are people in Missoula that sell pan dulce, and there are people who sell tamales. I actually just bought some this past week, and there are people that sell them in Hamilton as well. And they're individuals that you can find like on Facebook. So maybe just look up like pan dulce or like tamales, and then look up and see if it's like in Missoula or something. Because usually that's how I found them. Sorry.
No, thank you, Val.
We've got a question from Stephanie, who wants to know if you, Avianna, grew up with an ofrenda or just started later in your own life with your grandparents, or kind of what that sort of process and history looks like for you.
Yeah, definitely. I actually, this last year was my first year doing it. I'd always been interested in having an ofrenda, but I guess I would never really just like took the time to actually do it. But yeah, no, I didn't grow up with it. It was something that I had looked into, and it was just, I didn't have any I didn't have any personal belongings of my grandparents beforehand. And I just thought, it would just be a good way to reach out to my dad and his sisters, gave me some personal belongings. And once I had those belongings, I was like, I really want to, do something with these. So I just thought an ofrenda was the best way to really honor them. So yeah.
I've got another question. Can you tell why I wanted to moderate this session? And I know, so I'm asking you personally, because I know you can't speak on behalf of everyone, but do you think that there is space for people who are not Latinx or part of that community, or who did not grow up with that, to sort of take on this tradition as part of their own family's practices and things? Of course, knowing what the history is and knowing the intention, it's much more than a parade. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my personal thoughts were definitely more towards specifically the Festival of Remembrance, just because it isn't led by a fully Latinx community group, which I do have a problem with. But otherwise, I don't find anything wrong with people who are not of Latinx heritage to celebrate, as long as you are, really taking into account the actual history. You're getting your information from Latinx people of how to celebrate, and just understanding the privilege you have, that it's not your culture. You are practicing someone else's culture, and you should be, not cherry picking of just wanting to celebrate that specific part of the culture. You should be embracing all, Latinx, like, I don't know how to word this. You should be caring about Latinx people in general. It shouldn't just be, oh, this looks really fun, or this is a great way to honor my family. You should be looking at Latinx issues and how to support Latinx people otherwise, not just taking from the culture and, using it. But as I said in the video, more like supporting, Latinx artists and donating to Latinx causes and things like that. So I think as long as you're really just understanding where it's coming from, that's the, best way to go. And I think that in that sense, anyone can celebrate as long as they're doing that.
Great. Well, I do want to be mindful of time. That is the end of our session with Avianna.